sober. It is episode 470. Yes, 470. How is everybody today? Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, it's my 18-year celebration of being sober. Been sober 18 years today. What has changed? What it was like, what it's like now. Wowza. Has life changed in 18 years? I first have to say this. I have to say thank you to all of the people that have been watching this podcast since it started 470 episodes ago, 8 years ago. And you're still here, some of you. Some of you have left. Some of you don't like my politics. Some of you have decided to go do other things. And I say, great, go for it. Do whatever you need to do. Just make sure you prioritize yourself and take out any of the things that are triggers. And if my politics is triggering to you, definitely don't listen. I had people reaching out to me saying, oh my gosh, I can't listen to you anymore because you're talking about politics. It's triggering. I don't want to, I want to drink when I listen to you. I don't want the same person that you want to win. And I'm like, okay, go. Takes a lot of courage to do that, by the way. Takes a lot of courage because most people will just go, I'm just going to stop listening to you. And I'd be like, okay, you go ahead and you stop listening to me. So back to what the story is about. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things today. And I wanted to, again, thank everybody that's been watching for so long and supporting me. And you've been helping me along this journey of sobriety. And I think about it in such a way that I actually made notes today, which I normally don't do, but I actually did. And I've been thinking all day. So I'm recording this the day before. And I've been thinking about it all day, like what it was like 18 years ago. And oh my gosh, how many things have changed? How many things have transpired? I mean, my kids were 10, 7, and 10, 8, and 6 when I got sober because it was the summertime. It was August, obviously, 14th. And I think back to those times of what it was like in the chaos and the bouncing. I had people in rooms that would say to me, oh my gosh, you're like a pinball in a pinball machine that just bounces from one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing, one thing. And yeah, I couldn't sit quietly. I couldn't meditate. I was way more selfish back then. I was way more, I don't know. It's like so much has changed now. I mean, I've got one son that's married. I have a daughter that's in law school. My youngest son, as a lot of you saw on Facebook, or maybe didn't, but because I didn't put it on the Busy Living Sober actually page, I just put it on my personal page because my son asked me, because it doesn't need to be on Busy Living Sober. My son got engaged last Monday. It's been over a week now. And wow, 18 years. A lot changes in 18 years. And, my main topic today is really honesty and getting authentic. And I really remember walking into that room. I'll never forget it. And it was a Tuesday night, and I walked into this room because I got sober at the store. I didn't go to a meeting right away. It took about a week for me to go. And I met someone there that a family member knew. And he said, go call this woman. And I did. And she said, all right, I'll meet you at this meeting. And so I went to this meeting. And I remember, and now thinking back, I don't remember much about that meeting, but I do remember one thing. And that was when I went to that meeting, which I was so scared to go to. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this is not what I want to do. The gig is up. I mean, if once I walk in the store, I'm never going to drink again. And I kind of knew that in the bottom of my, like, I just knew that instinctually that when I walked into the store, it was over. No more drinking. Because I'm kind of one of those people who like sets her mind to something and she just does it. So I went in that room, and it was the first time that I was honest about my drinking. And it was the first time that I raised my hand and I said, yes, hi, I'm Elizabeth. I am an alcoholic. And wow, that was the first time, and it changed everything. It changed everything in my life that minute. And they said to me in that meeting, my sponsor said to me, she goes, you're gonna need to call me every day. You're gonna need to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and we're gonna start working on these steps. And I was like, okay. But guess what? You want me to go to 90 meetings to call you all the time? I'm busy. Didn't you get the notification? Like, busy. It's on my car and everything else. I'm busy. I don't have time to call you every day and go to a meeting every day. And she said, you know what? If you want what I have, you're going to do this. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do. And I was just like, I wanted what she had so desperately, which was sobriety and calm. And it was so like the first time again. And it says in how it works, like so many times, which is what we read at the beginning of a 12-step meeting. And, it says honesty, authenticity, being honest is like the first key to being sober. And I did it. And I did everything she told me to do. And I went to probably a meeting a day for almost 3 years. And when I found that person in my life, who we call sponsor, this woman, because women with women and men with men, that's at least our opinion. It was back then, 18 years ago. I know I'm an old timer and it's old, and maybe I'm an old lady now, but um, I found this woman that I could trust. And I could finally let all my stuff go and tell her things that I hadn't really told anybody else. And it was in a loving, kind way. And I could tell her everything that I've been carrying around, that I literally thought inside, if I tell somebody all this stuff, I'm just going to break down in so many tears. And wow, I did. And looking back, did I tell her everything? Probably not. I mean, it's been an evolution. And I've mentioned in many podcasts that it was like I was an onion, and constantly, as time goes on, I keep peeling back and I keep learning. I keep learning so much. And I have to say, some of my biggest teachers are my kids. My 3 kids have taught me so many things. And it's like love, acceptance, change. Change happens all the time. Um, it's learning how to be somebody who can listen and somebody who doesn't judge, which was really hard. It still can be hard for me. I'm not going to lie. I judge Judy sometimes, and it takes away from who I am authentically, because I so desperately want to have a big heart and love everybody, and especially people with this disease, because it's just, I get it so much how, alcohol was the answer to everything, because you didn't have to feel. And my head used to at least go really, really crazy. And as I mentioned, the pinball, I was like, ding, 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 ding. And it's taken time to get everything to settle down. And but I had that sponsor, that person to call all the time, who didn't charge me any money, never charged me $1, not even 10 cents. And I could call her anytime I wanted. And if she was busy, she wouldn't pick up, but she'd say, I'll call you back or whatever. And, but I always had somebody when the crazy started, which obviously inevitably it did, especially when my kids were little, because it was like, I've got to make dinner again. And it would be like, yes, you have to make dinner again. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's the last thing I want to do is make dinner. And I'd call her and say, I don't want to make dinner. And she'd listen to me kvetch, which means kind of bitch. It's like just talk about what was bothering me the whole entire day, which was all stupid, nebulous things like, oh my gosh, my kids did this. They didn't do that. I had to go to the school again and drop off something. I can't believe they didn't do this. And my ex-husband did this. He was definitely at fault for everything back then. It was like, he did this, he did that. I wanted like one of those old, what are they called? Not a Ouija, but it's one of the dolls that you used to see in the movies, that they put the dolls in. It would be like he'd feel it. And I wanted one of those so desperately to. And she would say to me, no, can't do that. I'd be like, why? I can't stand him. Da, 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 da. And she goes, you have to pray for him. That was the first time. Now thinking back, like how somebody taught me, said, you have to pray for this person. And I was like, what? I have to pray for somebody? I don't want to pray for anybody. I just want to pray for me to get out of this foxhole and get out of these problems. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to pray for somebody else. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I knew this was going to happen, but it's just whatever. I guess if you're listening, I hope you like, and if not, I guess you'll stop listening now. But that whole thing about prayer, it was like, wait, you want me to pray for somebody that's like, that I don't want something from? I'm not praying to God to bring me something, was like the first time that ever happened in my life. And game changer, another game changer along this path. And I remember being like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pray for somebody that's whatever. And now I'm not close to my ex-husband by any stretch of imagination. I don't really talk to him ever, unless I have to see him at an event, and then we will talk. But I don't talk to him beyond that. I wish him well at night when I pray now, and I just hope, for good things to happen to him and for everybody in my family, and the ones that I talk to and the ones I don't talk to. It's like that has become an evolution I never thought I could have. I have a big, huge amount of forgiveness today in things I never thought I could forgive. And I mean, forgive, like, I forgive them, but that doesn't mean I want to have dinner with them. But I don't carry around like, oh my God, I hate this person, or oh my God, I hate that person. Do you know what they did to me? Do you want me to tell you the story of how bad this was? And nobody really wants to hear this story, let's be honest. And nobody wants to hear somebody else's pity party. I know that for sure because I've tried for many years and I've heard a lot of people's, and I'm like, no. So really getting to this place where I don't have to be mad. Like, I don't have to be mad at anybody. I can be like, they're all trying their best. Everybody is trying their best, I think. And gratitude. Gratitude. Wow. Okay. As you guys know, I listen to the Halo app every morning, and today they talked about gratitude every single solitary day, and waking up in the morning and having gratitude. And that has been wow. Being able to be grateful every day, even when times are tough, even when you have things that you're powerless over, like your relationships with your children and your relationships with your friends and your relationships with your family and relationships with coworkers and bosses. And I can go at on ad nauseum, but having this ability to go, you know what, I don't want to be mad. Like, mad is such a yucky feeling, right? It's just like you carry it around. You're just like, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad. And you're like holding on to something that's really hot, like a rock, and you're mad at this person. They don't even care. They might even not even know that you're mad. And you're like, I've been carrying this around for decades, and nobody else cares but you. So that was one thing I had to do, was like go through this forgiveness thing. And that is so hard. And you have to get, and I think you get forgiveness because of the gratitude. So you go, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And finally, the grateful, like the light that you get from gratitude is so big, right? You get this big, but like a big, like I think you fill your tank with light once you keep doing this gratitude and go, oh my gosh, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. And in the beginning, it was like, I'm grateful I can see. I'm grateful my kids, whatever. And I'm grateful for my legs. And I'm grateful that my kids got to school on time, or whatever, like little things. And as time has progressed, it's gotten more rich and deeper and longer, and more adjectives and more verbs of what I'm grateful for. But when you have that, and this is again my opinion, when you have that ability to get to the light where you're like, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, this like darkness that you have towards others becomes like, you know what? I'm just going to pray for them. I don't have to be mad at them. They aren't who I want them to be. And that's okay. And I learned that through acceptance, right? Acceptance in the program. It's like I have to accept everything as the way it is. It's because God wants it that way. I might not want it that way. Many times I don't want things the way they are. But all I can do is accept that they are the way that they are. And then I can pray when I'm feeling like, okay, God, help me get through this. Help me get to the place that I can accept the way it is, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad. Again, anger does nothing. It builds those resentments. And all we do is want to drink at these resentments because our heads start bursting. So getting to a place that you can identify a feeling rather than going and drinking over it was a really, really, it took a lot of time, and it's like where I am today is just so different. And I know I'm going to continually evolve. I'm going to continually learn, and I'm can hopefully continually grow. And especially my relationship with God. And God is everything or he is nothing. And for me, he is everything. So I have to start off my day like with him in prayer. And you might be like, well, what does that look like? Well, my prayer, I have to be really honest with you, is in my bed. I lay in my bed and I pull out the Halo app. And I have actually a wall in my bedroom that has a bunch of crosses from a bunch of travels all over the place. So I have all these different crosses on a wall right next to my bed. And then in front of, like, at the foot of my bed, I have a big shelf on the ceiling, up on the wall above me that I can see, and the Blessed Mother's there, and across, a dear friend of mine in the program gave me. And so that is where I'm laying in bed and I just talk to God. I just say, this is where, thank you for today. I tell him all the time that I love him. And I also tell the Blessed Mother, Jesus, his mother, thank you. And I say, and, I send her blessings and tell her I love her. And it gives me this sense of not being alone. And it's so fascinating to me that where we are in our lives these days, especially, and like, how much has this changed? I mean, my life has changed in 55 years so much. Like, right when I was younger, everybody went to church, everybody prayed. Then, I guess I read something that said, because of commerce and truckers were going to get fined if they were working on Sundays, or businesses were going to get fined if they were working on Sundays, but they realized that they were making more money on Sundays. So what their fine was less than what they were making for money. So they just said, forget it, we're opening on Sundays. And I think once that happened, and I think that once kids' sports happened on the weekends, like my kids had all these sports on the weekends. I'm like, what is this? How can you have a sporting event on a Sunday that you expect a kid to go to? I understand a football game because everybody, like professional football game was a way to bring family together. Let's be honest. Like the family would gather in front of a football game, whatever the local team you have, or even high school teams, and everybody would get together and it would be an event that the whole family, the community, everybody would get together and celebrate. And it's so interesting because I guess once the stores were open, nobody was hanging out at home anymore watching, a football game on a Saturday night. I remember watching like Love Boat and Fantasy Island, and you would stay home as a family and again and watch these crazy soap opera shows that were on at night. And it was just so, and the family would be there and everybody would be talking about it, and it would be nebula. I mean, it would be all just kind of kid stuff. And you think about it, and where we have come from that to where we are now is just polar opposite, right? It's like from one extreme to the other. And we do not even live in a society that looks like the society that even I got sober in. Like when I got sober, it was like totally, nobody talked about it. Dick Van Dyke tried to get in front of Congress. Now all these people are getting in front of Congress, talking about drugs and talking about the opiate problems and the heroin issues and fentanyl. Like people have gotten up and talked about that. And now more and more people are getting together on chat rooms and talking about their sobriety or whatever they want to talk about. I think that's so fascinating. Like, I couldn't imagine well, I still can't really imagine. I don't have the time nor the energy nor the wherewithal to get on the computer and sit on Facebook or Instagram and see what all these people are doing. I just have too much going on. I don't know if I'm blessed or if I'm cursed, but I don't sit there and try and find friends that I can talk to on the internet when I'm feeling a certain way because I go out in public. That's just what I've been doing my whole life. You know, I've gone out to different places. I go to churches, I go to restaurants, I go to events that are interests me, politics, that sort of thing interests me. And I meet like-minded people and have conversations. And I love that. And I go to 12-step meetings all the time and I meet all different sorts of people there. Doing all of these things has given me an ability to know so much more and see how much the world has changed. It has changed so much because everybody now can talk about sobriety. I mean, look at JD Vance. He talks about his mother being sober. She has 9 years. She'll have 10 years in January. That would not have happened in 2006 when I got sober. It was not happening, not happening. And that whole social media thing and the chat rooms that happen on the internet, I guess there's some good thing about it. I don't know. Maybe different people. You can talk to people you don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's helps lonelier people. I don't know. But for me, it always had to be the touch, the feel, the being around somebody else. It's like seeing how somebody's mannerisms are, what they wear, all that stuff makes life, right? It makes it more interesting. And obviously, since I got sober, I even went through COVID where there was no meetings, and I kept coming back and I kept coming back. And it's like it's so crazy, that it's been since COVID that so many people stopped going to meetings in person and they started going on the computer. It just was more convenient. It's like, right, everything's like so convenient. You have to be at your house and you can wear your pajamas. You could actually even be drinking in a meeting, who would know, because you've got this camera and you can turn it on, you can turn it off on Zoom. And so you can do all those things and it doesn't matter. You're not in a room with other people where you can feel the presence of God. At least I can when there's others around me. And I feel this peace and this sense of community when I'm in a room with other human beings. And I actually went to, just to digress, of course, which I do. I went to have an MRI today. I didn't have an MRI. I had to get an ultrasound. I didn't have an MRI this week. I had an ultrasound. So I went to go have this ultrasound and I'm in, excuse me, I'm in the waiting room and And I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and, I live in Florida. So, most of the demographic is a little bit older, like older people. And then there was a sprinkle of younger people. But I just tell you something, I didn't have my phone. My phone was charging. It was totally dead. And they were so sweet, and they took it back, and they were like, "We'll charge your phone." So they're charging their phone. So I'm sitting in a waiting room that's pretty packed, it's pretty large. I'm sitting there without a device. Like, I don't have a big rectangle in my hand, um, computer carrying it with me. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm just breathing, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I just want to relax." And I'm looking at all these people around me. No one's saying hi to the person sitting next to them. No. Every person was on their cell phone. I'm not kidding you. Every person was on their cell phone in the waiting room. Didn't matter what age they were. They could be really old, and they could have been really young. Every person that was there had their cell phone out and was on it. I was like, this is crazy. There's no community here. You can't say to somebody, "Oh, hey, where do you live?" Or, "What's going on with you?" I know one person knew another person, and the one person's like, they were very older, and the other person was a little bit younger. And they said, and the older person said, "Oh, doing?" And the other lady, she's like, "Oh, I'm here. It's nothing. I'm fine." And then got back on her phone. And I was like, wow, like, there's no sense of community anymore. Like, the world has been this device that everybody carries it, including me. And it's so much noise all the time, all the time. In 2006, there wasn't this much noise. I don't think as many people had smartphones back then. Maybe I think there were flip phones. I don't even remember. That's how bad it is. But anyway, I had something, and I don't think, obviously, Apple didn't have the iPads back then and stuff, or maybe they didn't. I couldn't afford one because it was way too expensive. But it's so interesting that so many people are so busy. My nickname, busy, that they can't be in the moment. That's something that's changed. Back in the day, you had to be in the moment. You had to have feelings. You'd have to feel uncomfortable. You'd have to feel like, how am I going to get comfortable? I don't have a device to pick up. And so I have to sit here and feel these feelings. And I don't want to bash anything. By the way, everything here is my opinion. And so when COVID happened, and you couldn't leave your house, and everybody was separated for this stupid cold that everybody got. Some people died from it. I'm very sorry about that. But everybody had to stay in their house. You could get liquor, but you couldn't go to a meeting. You couldn't go to church. You couldn't go to synagogue. You couldn't go to your mosque. You couldn't go anywhere. Okay. You had to sit in your house. Loneliest time, loneliest time. Humans don't like to be alone. That's why when, God brought Adam, Adam was like, "I need another human to talk to. I don't want to be here by myself." And he's like, "All right, here's Eve." So they had each other to talk to. And so now COVID happens, puts us in our house. We're totally stressed out. We're either with our partner, spouse. We're probably stuck with them if it made it through. Because let's face it, how many divorces happen because of that? You're with your kids, if you have kids, and you have to homeschool them, and you have no one to talk to, and it's so lonely. And when it gets lonely, you think, I'm going to call the liquor store, the grocery store, and I can have stuff delivered. I can have anything delivered to my door." And so everybody brought everything to the door, and the liquor came out, and everybody could drink from home. And I know more people that died from alcoholism than did from COVID. And I interviewed a lot of people during that time. Gosh, so crazy how long I've been doing this, you guys. So long. And I interviewed a lot of people that were kind of like really flabbergasted by the fact that you could go to the liquor store or have liquor delivered to your home, but you couldn't go outside and be with your friends. It was very isolating. And I was going to say, the woman I saw who gave me the ultrasound, of course, was talking to her, because I talked to everybody. And she's like, "I just started going back to church finally." She goes, "I stopped going. And I went with my daughter last Sunday." And she was like, "You have no idea. My daughter was so happy." She's like, "Mommy, we have to do this again more often." And the woman looked at me and she goes, "You know what? My husband and I were talking, and we're going to go back to church because we can do it now. And I want to make it a priority." And I was like, wow. I gave her a big hug. I said, "That's absolutely beautiful. That is so beautiful." so many people since getting sober. I think maybe this was happening forever, but of course, because I'm awake and I'm aware and I'm constantly watching what's around me, I've realized how many people are asleep. They're just asleep. They don't really pay attention to anything that's going on. They don't know politically what's going on. They don't know the branches of the government. They don't really know anything about either of the candidates. They just know one of them is one color and a sex, and the other one's an old mean guy, and he's this sex, and that's what everybody thinks. And nobody takes the time to look into it. I mean, that's another thing that happened. I brought up politics, of course, because I always do when I was checking into this place. And the woman said to me, "How do you know so much about politics? Why do you want to know about all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Why do I want to know? I have children. I'm going to have grandchildren one day. I mean, this is our world. I mean, of course I know." And it's crazy that we don't know. And I think that what I find the most interesting is that, you know, I watched last night. So you're watching this on Wednesday. So it's 2 nights ago for you guys. There was an interview with Elon Musk and Donald J. Trump, President Trump. And, I go on to watch it at 8 o'clock. My computer, it's not working. Twitter's not working. X isn't working. I mean, I'm like going here, I'm going there. I'm saying to my husband, "Oh my gosh, JF, why isn't this working?" He's like, "I don't know why it's not working." I'm like, "Get on Google." He's on Google searching it. And I get on, I start watching on YouTube because I had YouTube set up. I had X on my computer. I had my iPad going. I had all these different devices going. Speaking of devices, and I watched this entire. It finally came on. I think it was 45 minutes to an hour late, but I didn't give up the faith. I was like, I got to sit here. I got to watch this. This has to come on. And I found it so interesting to listen to Elon Musk and Donald Trump just have a conversation. There was no, he was at, Elon Musk asked him a question, he answered it. He asked another question, he answered it. Then they went back and forth and chatted about some of the responses. And, one of the things there was one story that I don't know why it stuck with me, but it did because Elon Musk said, "Well, was it like to get shot at? And how was that and everything?" And he said, there was a lot of blood. It was kind of scary, but everybody stood there by me and like nobody left. Nobody left. There was no stampede was one thing he said. And the other thing he said was the gentleman, and I don't know if he was a police officer. I heard at one point that he was a police officer, and I don't know if he was a police officer or if he was a civilian. And if you know this person, or please excuse me that I don't know what his actual title was, but he had seen the shooter and about to shoot Donald Trump, and he climbed up a ladder and he got up there, and the guy, I don't know his name anyway, the shooter, and I don't need to know his name, so the man gets up there, sees the shooter points the gun at him, and he just goes down, just goes down the ladder. And what I found so interesting is Donald Trump talked about this gentleman and said, I would have done the same thing if somebody was pointing a gun at me. I'd fall down, I'd run away. I'd do whatever I could. And he talked about how terrible he felt for the man because he ended up hurting himself, his leg or his ankle really badly. And he was talking about him. And of course, the Corey, who died in Butler, Pennsylvania at the rally, he talked about him. And I was just like, wow, it's, he was very human to me and very, authentic. And he wasn't, he was just Donald Trump. Right. And he spoke and he was articulate, and it was just something I really enjoyed. And then today I saw something that said, "Oh, President Biden and Kamala Harris want that to be, they don't want that, they don't want this interview to be put out to the mass public. They want to monitor it. They want to take things out. They want to change things." Okay. So we're, as American public, we're not allowed to hear what he says and decipher whether it was truthful or not truthful. We don't get to do our own investigation. Things have to be taken from us, so we can't look at them because we might have a real grown-up opinion about things. Like, you want to hide things from us because we're not strong enough and we're babies. They don't want us to know things because we're going to just fall down on the ground like I did all the time when I was drinking because I was scared to hear things. So you're going to hold them away from me because I'm a child? No, I'm an adult. I'm an adult. We're all adults. I think 60 million people watched this interview, something insane. And And now you're going to say, oh no, you can't. We want to go and censor it. We want to make sure you can't hear it. And it's going back to the fact that, I got sober. I had to be honest. I had to tell the truth. I had to tell you who I was. I had to be honest in a room with people. And there are certain things that I obviously didn't share with the entire universe because it's not for anybody else to hear but my sponsor, and that's okay. But I feel like where we're living right now, I'm not a child. I can hear things, and I know that they might freak me out. They might not. I might feel one way about this person if I feel it this way. But where we need to be told the truth. And I find that right now, like being treated like a little kid does not make me feel good. And I don't think it makes a lot of people that are actually awake feel good. I think the awake people are seeing this. I think the people that are out there going, oh my gosh, I just have to hear about policies, because it was interesting. The other thing Donald Trump talked about, which I found very interesting, was that he said, we don't have to worry about global warming right now. Like in 200 years, yeah, maybe 200 years, there might be a problem. But right now, our biggest threat is nuclear, because there's all these big powers that be, Russia, Iran, all these powers that have, nuclear bombs. And that would be kind of bad. Okay. That would be bad for the environment to have a nuclear bomb go off. It would be bad for us we can't breathe that air. We're going to die. Right. So there's wars everywhere. So we need to say, okay, I see what you're saying. But so many people are like, well, I'm going to vote this way because this person's this color and they're that sex. Shouldn't we be like looking at who's going to do the best job for us? Like who's nice and who says mean tweets and like that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Our homes matter. Our country matters. That's what matters. How we're going to put food on the table for our families, how we're going to put gas in the car so we can get to work. All of that matters. How are we going to get to church and pray? How am I going to afford to put gas in my car and go to synagogue? How am I going to be able to give tidings if I wanted to give tidings if I can't afford it? That's stuff we really have to worry about. Not like who's being mean and who's being nice, and who wants to hide stuff from us and who doesn't. And who rigs things and doesn't tell us what's going on, but the people that are asleep don't care. Like I've seen so many things that say, you have to show your ID before you go into the airport. Okay. To go on a plane, you have to show your ID. You have to show your ID if you want to buy cigarettes. You have to show your ID if you want to buy booze. But when you're going to vote for something that is so important to the country that we live in, you don't have to show an ID. It's fine. You don't need to show an ID. You can vote as many times as you want. Who cares? You can do what you want. I don't care. You just make yourself happy. That's what's important, making yourself happy. Don't have God keep, you're fine. We're good. We're good. People tell you you're good. You're good. You're good. I think there's so many people that are like, I'm not good. So in the past 18 years, I want to finish with one other thing. I forgot one thing and I just actually looked down and saw the note that I made for myself. But what I found to be really, and one last thing that I wanted to say is that, Kamala Harris, I don't know her. I've never gone out for dinner with her. But I've never gone to dinner with Donald Trump. I have been very front and center with him. So I don't know. I guess I'm closer to him than I am to her. I've watched her for the past 4 years as the vice president. I've watched these things and I've been awake and I've watched these things and I'm just like, why isn't she telling the truth? Like, why is she now saying things like Trump already said she's claiming are her things when he just said it? Like, you can go back and see cameras are everywhere. Why is there no truth? She was the border czar. Now she's saying she wasn't. She just rewrote history. I don't know. Where has she been since the past 24 days anyway? 25 days. Where is she? Do they have her in a hangar? I'm convinced she's in a hangar and they're totally prepping her and getting her. Come on, we got to teach you this. Do you know this? Instead of her. No, she's hopefully learning something. But tell me the truth. I'm a grown up. You can say, you know what? I'm Kamala Harris. I was put in this job because these people over here think that I can do it. And I'm going to really try to. I have no idea what I'm doing, but just make me president. I'm going to figure it out when I'm there. Or at least the powers that be that are behind me, they're going to have to be in control anyway. So it doesn't matter. Just so everybody knows. Like, just say, this is who I am. I'm going to be, I have no idea what it's like to be the president or the vice president, to be honest. I don't know what it's like to take responsibility for myself, but I'm going to do it now. I had 4 years to try it as the the next guy down. There was a president, I was a vice president. I was supposed to go and stand up and do my stuff, but I couldn't do it. It was too much. And I didn't do a great job at it, but I'm going to go do the bigger job now. I'm not going to be the guy standing behind I'm not going to be the girl, excuse me, standing behind the big guy. I'm going to be the girl in front. And because I'm Black, which she's half Black, let's just be honest with that. For so long, she said she was Indian, and that was her selling point. I mean, she'll just be whatever. It's a chameleon. That's what I was when I was drinking. I was a chameleon. Whatever you wanted me to be, so I liked you. Just so you liked me. I'll be what you want me to be, and I'm not going to figure out who I am because I'm going to be what you want me to be. And it's like, come on, just get honest. Like, who are you? Who really are you? And why do you want to do this job? Do you want to do it because you love America? Or do you want to do it because you want more money for yourself and you and your husband, who by the way is white and they live in a $5 million house? Why is that like, why do you want this job? What do you believe in? Not what Donald Trump just said 5 minutes ago that was going to be one of his policies that you just picked up and made yours. And because all the people that are asleep that are going to vote for you, just because you're a certain color and you're a certain sex and don't really care about any of your policies because you don't have any. Maybe you will by the end of the week or maybe by next week. I don't know. But tell us the truth. Who are you? Who are you? You know, in the past 18 years, I've watched a lot of stuff. Obviously, we didn't know how much stuff was hidden from us, how long we've been treated like children, and now we get to be hopefully treated like adults. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I have no idea. I have no idea. You know what the only thing is I wanted to say, being able to do this, so many people again have said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're so courageous." And I thank you for thinking that I'm courageous. I think God gave me this gift to be able to speak. I feel like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I have woken up in the middle of the night going, "Oh my God, is somebody gonna come to my house and arrest me because I'm talking like this?" I pray not, but if it happens, I guess it happens. What am I gonna do? But I believe that there's good in the world. I do, and maybe I am hopeful and like a little kid still on the inside, which I think I kind of am. And, Tinkerbell, I love all that stuff. I'm never going to let that go, I pray. And I that's me. That's the authentic me, is that I'm an optimist. And I think God wins in the end. I don't think humans win in the end. I think maybe if we actually get to heaven, we've won, let's be honest. And I believe that people are good. I believe that people want the best for other human beings. I believe from the bottom of my heart that love wins, light wins, honesty wins, transparency wins. You know, I think back to when I had my last drink and when I decided to join, do this and be a sober woman and a sober mom and a sober wife. I believe that it was like, wow, I was going to get a second chance in life, and I have. And for that, I am forever grateful. And I am so grateful that you guys are listeners. And I'm so grateful that you send me notes. And I'm so grateful that you follow me. And I can't tell you how much I love each and every one of you, even if I don't even know who you are. I want to end this with something that I find uh, I don't ever forget. And I don't talk about it all the time. But, you know, both my grandmothers battled alcoholism, and they never got sober back then. And a long time ago, they were born in 13, and I think probably both of them in 13 or 12 and 14, whatever, 1913, 1914. I know my one grandmother was born in 1913, and my other grandmother, my dad didn't remember, but that's okay. But let's just say 1914, and both of them had battled alcoholism. So I knew where my disease came from. And when I was little and my parents would talk about their moms and say, you know what, they're an alcoholic, there wasn't a solution. And for that, I feel like, nobody was getting really sober back then. There weren't a lot of women getting sober back then. And I found my one grandmother passed away, my mother's grandmother. I was like, oh, I want this old purse. I like old things. It's just my thing. And in this bag, I found a white coin, and it was a white chip, like a white poker chip that had A on it in gold. And I know that they never could get sober. The world wasn't like it is today. There wasn't a lot of solution, but today there is. There's a lot of solutions out there. There's a lot of places you can go and a lot of things you can choose today. And you can get sober if you want it. And you don't have to go hide about it. Because I've learned on this journey of 18 years that there's a lot of people out there battling this disease in all different ways, in all different forms. And there is a solution. And it's with me, it's like you got to get God. If you don't have God, it's going to be really hard. It is to have something that you can believe in that's bigger than you, that you can't touch and you can't feel, really is like it's the game changer, I believe, from the bottom of my heart. I don't think you can take enough, go to enough different places and therapy places and rehabs and all the rest of it, and it adds up and adds up and adds up. And I don't think I think until you get to this place that you like, I totally surrender. I totally surrender to who I am and what I have. And I embrace it and I hold on tight to it and I cherish it. My sobriety is the biggest gift I've ever given, for one, to myself, and two, for those around me. And it's something that I wish for everybody that battles this disease. I wish that they could get to this place where they can go, I surrender, and not be scared of what somebody else may think and somebody else may judge. Because the last I checked, this is about you and about God. And you can look in the mirror and say, you know what? God, help me. My grandmother's never had that opportunity. It was way too shameful back then. And I know there's still some shame today. But you have to remember each and every day to put your needs in front of others for right now. In the very beginning, you've got to take this 1 second at a time sometimes, because this disease is so cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it wants you dead. That isn't a joke. I've watched too many people die in the past 18 years. Work this. You're worth it. Do something to change, because you can. Life is so amazing today. No matter what's going on politically and with these wars and all the other dark stuff I was talking about, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because we all are we all are going to die one day. We all are. It's not a question of like, the only question is when. But don't you want to be like, oh my gosh, when I die, I can be proud of myself that I did something. And it might not have been building the Empire State Building or building, the cure for cancer, but just being there for your family is just an amazing gift. And showing up for yourself is a gift that I can tell you keeps giving. It keeps giving. And when you're in a 12-step program like I am, you get to learn tools and you get to do this life, this thing we call life. You don't have to do it by yourself. I promise you there's somebody out there that can help you, that's free. It isn't going to cost you anything. All you have to do is bring yourself and be willing to be honest. And that's it. Thanks again to everybody that's out there, anybody who was like affected my life in the past 18 years. Thank you. I'm going to keep going, one day at a time. And I'm going to keep doing this podcast, and I'm going to keep sharing with you all that I love you all. And I have hope for everybody that they can get to the place that they can all look in the mirror and go, you know what? I like what's looking back at me, because I know who I am and I own who I am. And I am never alone. That is a lie. I always have somebody, and that might be God, that you can't touch or feel maybe at times, and maybe sometimes you will. But don't ever give up hope. And if you don't drink one day at a time, you are a winner. in my book. Okay, everybody, until next week. We'll be back on Monday. I think I'm going to do another one with me and JF. Don't you think that's fun? I think it's really fun. I think people enjoy it. So I'm going to do that. We'll interview each other. I don't know how we'll do it, but you'll have a Monday episode with me and JF. And I'm going to keep going one day at a time. I hope you are too. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at Elizabeth, ELIZABETH, at elizabethchance.com. Subscribe to my Patreon if you like what you hear. I would love it if you became a Patreon member of mine. I send out different stuff to my Patreon members that I don't put out for everybody. If you become a member and you pay a tiny minimal amount of money, I will send you stuff that just goes to you guys and not to anybody else. And that's not out there to be sales pitch. It's just, I don't make anybody doing this, and it's kind of nice if I buy myself a cup of coffee. But reach out to me and know that you are not alone, and that I'm sending you virtual hugs, and I am cheering you on from afar and sending amazing prayers for you, because I know you can do this too. Just have to get a little honest. So until next time, everybody, keep getting busy.